The sound, soundscaping and sound effects, what we call SFX.
In this lesson, you'll learn how to build a scene that feels real and hits emotionally by layering sound, controlling loudness, keeping voices clear, and exporting like a pro. Let's walk through the soundscaping workflow. First, you build the scene using the 4 core layers: the beds or background layer, the Foley or action layer, the design elements or emotion layer, and lastly, the punctuation or moment layer. Then you finish the workflow with the professional steps: control, consistency, checks, and finally, exporting the audio in a film festival ready format. Let's go.
Before we add any sound, we do a spotting pass, and that simply means we watch the scenes and write down what the sound needs to do. The sound goals. So ask yourself, where are we? What kind of space is this? How busy is it? And what time of day is it? And what should it sound like right now? Now here's my list. It's a cozy cafe. It's about mid-morning. It's not busy. We have waiters passing by and a few customers coming in and out. Now ask yourself this question. If I was standing there, what would I actually hear? Now, don't invent sounds. Picture the room and list the normal sounds. You're in a cozy cafe. It's not busy. It's about mid-morning. What will you hear? Here's my list. You're likely to hear a consistent, soft room tone. The air of a room. That could come from the heating, the ventilation, or the air conditioning. The HVAC. There'll also be a couple of quiet conversations, light murmur, an occasional cup or saucer clinks, coffee machine sounds like a distant hiss or steam, footsteps of a waiter passing, soft footsteps, not stumpy, a chair may shift now and then, perhaps when the door opens you'll hear a whoosh of outside air, perhaps light paper from receipts or menu flip, and very subtle cutlery. Now, that list becomes your beds and Foley detail menu. Now you have your list of sounds. Let's upgrade it. You see, the scene isn't just a cafe. It's a cafe with a story happening. Now here's the thing. We can't ignore the characters because sound isn't just about place. Sound is place plus emotion. So ask yourself, what are the main characters feeling right now? Are they happy? Then the cafe can feel warmer and more open. Or are they tense? Then the cafe should feel tighter, quieter, more pressurized. Is there betrayal, fear, dread? Then the cafe bed should support that mode, not fight it. Now, this list would inform your emotion or designed emotion layer. So for this scene with Alex and Riley, here's what I'm thinking. So the characters are tense and conflict seems to be rising. So I'm thinking we keep the cafe present but restrained. The background layer of the beds would be room tone, the HVAC, and soft murmur of conversations. Reduce loud chatter, the clinks of the saucers and cup, and the espresso noise. Add subtle, low-pressure, barely felt sounds as tension rises. Add tiny, nervous details only when motivated, like when a finger taps or a cup tremble or there's heavy breathing. And when the scene hits peak tension, we can even dip the cafe bed slightly so the accusation lands. And when relief comes, we let the room feel wider again and bring back a little air, a little life.
Here's the spotting pass formula. 1. Describe the place. Cozy cafe, mid-morning, not busy. 2. List the real sounds you'd hear. Murmur, cups, footsteps, door chime. 3. Describe the character mood. Tense, guilt, dread. 4. Decide what to reduce. Busy noise. 5. Decide what to add. Pressure, breath, silence dips. 6. Decide what must stand out. Key line, reveal, reaction.
Now let's build the beds. This is the room tone and ambience. Now here's the rule. The room tone is the air of the space. It's the silence that isn't silent. And the ambience is the identity of the space, the recognizable cafe hints. If you skip room tone, the scene feels hollow. And if you overdo the ambience, it feels like a sitcom cafe, not tension. We'll be adding the beds using 11 Labs Sound Effects 2. The Explore tab allows you browse the community sound effects. You can find ready-made sounds you could actually use. And you can search for any sound using the search window. Hover over the sound and you'd see the prompt used to generate the sound. And over here, you can click this to reuse that prompt. And once you click on it, the prompt window would appear with the prompt in it. Now below here is infinity loop it's kind of like a continuation loop for your sound. And then you can control the duration of the sound, the audio clip, and also the prompt, this is basically how much you want the AI to rely on your prompt, as opposed to giving it, some leeway. I'll suggest you test different percentages here. Click here to download. Now let's generate our first sound clip. I'm basically deleting the prompt and pasting our prompt. Now what we have here is the interior cozy cafe room tone, the air of the room. We'll be increasing the prompt influence to somewhere between 60 to 70%, and also increasing duration to the max 29.530. We will not be activating the loops, and we'll just generate this. Find generated audio in the history tab. That's the duration, the loop, the download button, and favorites. So let's download. We will be downloading it in 48 kilohertz because that's the industry standard for professional videos, film, and broadcasting. The MP3, which is the 44.1 kilohertz, is for CDs and music. But since we're pitching a film festival, we will be downloading our audio files and eventually our audio for the video in 48 kilohertz. Now let's generate our ambient sound. So I've pasted the prompt, and the important thing here is we want low level murmur. The light murmur should be low level, not rowdy. We'll increase the duration to 30 seconds and generate. Now let's have a listen. We're looking for light conversation, not loud or rowdy. The quieter sounds are what we are after, so we're going to download only the quieter murmur, light chatter. So we've uploaded the files into CapCut. I feel like we need a drum roll here because this is the fun part. Now we get to layer. Now we get to use the sound to create the ambience, the setting, the emotion that we want. Now we're going to start with the tone, the air of the room, and we'll layer the light murmur on top of it. Now let's first of all listen to the sounds we've uploaded. We selected this one because it feels like tension in the air. Now let's normalize the loudness. This essentially adjusts the sound to industry standards. It keeps the audio from sounding crunchy or distorted.
You betrayed me.
As you observed, I reduced the volume of the clip because we need it to be really quiet. It's the air. It shouldn't overpower the murmur. It should just be like the air, but then more felt than heard. So observe what I'm doing because I'll keep reducing the sound until it meets my preference. One thing you notice is that I would be adjusting the volume, having a listen sometimes in full screen. What you will not notice is that I am using both headphones and speakers to do this because they tell two completely different stories about the space and the energy we're trying to build. So that's something professionals would do. So you should do that too. Now that's nice and low. Now let's grab the ambient layer, the light murmur. So I've gone ahead and selected the quieter of the two because this should be light conversations, not rowdy. And I placed that layer on top of the tone layer. Now I'm going to adjust the volume differently. Watch this. If you select the clip, in the middle, there's a horizontal line. You hover over that, a two-headed arrow, as you can see, appears. Now, you can increase the volume by raising that line up and reduce it by raising the line down. Now, I'm going to increase the volume by raising that line up. I'm going to reduce the air or the tone of the room because it's overpowering the space and it shouldn't be. It should be in the background, subtle in the background.
You betrayed me. How can I trust anything you say?
I didn't mean to.
You see, the background layer shouldn't overpower the space. It should be subtle in the background. So we'll keep reducing it until we get that feel. Let's adjust the ambient layer as well. Let's reduce the volume.
You betrayed me. How can I trust anything you say?
I didn't mean to. It just... Let me explain.
And we have a black screen. Now this happens when the video clip is shorter than the audio clip. So let's trim the audio clip. To do this, go to the end of the file, use your scrubber as a guide, then select the audio clip you want to trim. The cursor will change to a trim cursor. Now drag to align with the video clip. So I'm going to be adjusting the ambient layer further to minus 12 decibels. Let's
You betrayed me. How can I trust anything you say?
I didn't mean to. It just... Let me explain.
Okay, cool. So we're going to leave that there for now and move on to the Foley layer. The Foley layer is the actions layer. We're asking what actions happen here. Now, tactile human sounds is what we are after. So hands touching a cup, heavy breathing, clothes rustling, footsteps, perhaps a chair scrape, the sort of sounds a human would make. So what sounds are being made in this scene? We should hear the soft footsteps of the waiter walking by. Perhaps the clink of the cups rubbing against each other on his tray. The disappearing footsteps of the man walking into the cafe. Disappearing because he's walking away from the main listening point, which is at the table where Riley and Alex are sat. And the waiter's sound, the footsteps of the waiter, would be closer because he's just walking by them. In this scene, we want to hear hands rubbing against a paper coffee cup. Ever so subtly though, not loud, just subtle. So what do we hear here? Alex is breathing nervously. So we expect shallow chest breathing, perhaps faster, perhaps some shakiness to the breath. And here Alex snaps his fingers. So something that indicates a snap, a finger snap. For this lesson, we'd focus on only 3 Foley sounds: footsteps, hands on cup, and heavy breathing. Now let's jump into 11 Labs and generate the sounds. First, the footsteps. So we'd add our prompt into the prompt window. We're after soft footsteps. And the prompt influence would be somewhere between 70 and 90%. And the time is 4 seconds. Let's generate. Sounds like a receding footstep. Because this footstep recedes or disappears, we could use it for the client who walks in and towards the back of the cafe. Does that sound like a footstep? It sounds like drumming to me. What do you think about this one? Does it sound like footsteps or like shuffling? So you tell me, would this work for the scene? What about this one? Would it work anywhere in the scene? Now have a listen to the last few sounds and make a mental note of the one you feel will work best for the scene if any. We'll go with this sound. And this one. So let's download them in 48 kilohertz. So back in CapCut, we've uploaded the files. And what we are doing now is observing the beats. The footsteps need to match the sound beat by beat. We are observing the time it takes the waiter to pass by and the exact time the other set of footsteps starts and ends. Now we add the footsteps. So this is the waiters. We're adding it at the beginning because that's about where it starts. So this is a bit too loud. So let's reduce the volume by -1 decibels because we are after soft footsteps. And have another listen. Let's reduce it further to -2 decibels because it's still too loud, kind of stumpy. Let's reduce it further because it's still not there yet, so 2.5 decibels. Let's just try that. Now the troubling sound is the air. It is overpowering all the other sounds and it needs to be at the background. So let's reduce that to -13 decibels. Okay, let's reduce the air further to -14 decibels. Now let's listen in full screen to get a sense of how the space is shaping up. Okay, for now, let's add the second set of footsteps. So we'll use the scrubber to pinpoint the exact moment he steps into the cafe and add the sound layer right there. I'll reduce the speed of this footstep just by one step lower because I feel it's just a tad bit faster than the beat. Now that's more in sync. So now let's reduce the volume because I want to emphasize the fade out. Would reduce it to -1 decibels. Let's reduce it further to -1.5 decibels. Reduce the waiter's footsteps to -3 decibels and the other footsteps to -2 decibels. Let's have a listen. happy with that for now. Let's move on to the next hands-on cup. Again, I'm watching to see the exact time the hands start rubbing on the paper cup. Let's grab the sound. Next, I'll look for the exact beat to start and stop this sound. So I'm going to scrub back and forth just to get a sense of where to start and stop the sound. The right beat is when Alex starts rubbing the cup and when he stops. The middle sound works best for me, so I'm going to place the file right on the beat where that sound starts. Now I'm going to clip the excess to the left of that file using the Clip Left tool. Would also clip right at this point where the sound ends. That works. Now let's reduce the volume to minus 7.5 decibel. Let's test at that level. Okay, I'm going to reduce it just a tad to minus 7.7 decibels. Let's have a listen.
You.
That works for now, so let's move on to add the breathing. First, let's understand what we're after. We're looking for a pace that matches Alex's breath movement. Something medium, a bit shaky at some points, but medium. Not too fast, not too slow. So we'll go with this one because the pace is right, in the middle of the other two. It's slower than the first and faster than the last. So now I'm looking for the section of the clip which matches Alex's breath movement, which short breath, medium, and a bit shaky at some point. So would have to use a part of the clip, not all of the clip. So let's find the right fit for Alex. Now I'm placing my scrubber at the start of the area I feel might work. Oh, I think that works really well. And I like the shaky, how it also, captures the shaky breathing at the end. So I'm going to cut off to the left, the excess to the left of that clip.
Hey.
I didn't mean to. It just... Let me explain. I didn't mean to. It just... Let me...
So we're going to allow the breathing continue into the voiceover section. And later on, I'll show you a lovely trick to make the voiceover more prominent without clipping the audio. For now, my focus is on reducing the volume so it's more natural and fits into the scene better. It flows with the other sounds in the room. So let's do that. Let's reduce the breathing volume to minus 10 decibels, and then we would have a listen. And if it's not right, we'll reduce it further.
I didn't mean to. It just... Let me explain.
Okay, let's reduce it further to minus 10.6 decibels.
I didn't mean to. It just... Let me explain.
I mean, I know. You don't want all that breathing while he's speaking or in this section of the clip. So I'm going to teach you a cool trick called docking. Let's go. So what is docking? Docking is an effect that lowers the volume of one audio track when another more important audio track, like a voiceover or something prominent, becomes present. You basically want to reduce the volume rather than clipping the track and then perhaps increase it later on so that we can focus on that moment of the voiceover or whatever else you want to take prominence. So here's how you dock. First, you move the scrubber to the exact point you want to dock or lower the sound. For us, is that whole area on the right side, this whole area. Next, we go to the volume control, and at the end of the volume, there's a diamond shape. This is the key frame. Now, the key frame is used to pinpoint the exact frame where you want a change to begin or end. So we're going to click on that, and it turns blue. Notice on the audio track, a white diamond has formed where we want to begin the keyframe. Now let's move the scrubber rightwards to the next point where we want the keyframe to continue. And we'll leave it there and then go to the volume control and increase or decrease it. You would notice another keyframe appear at the scrubber, at the end of the scrubber. Now that has marked the area. Now let's play around the volume and see what happens. Can you see what's happening there? The volume from the beginning keyframe or the anchor keyframe towards the left stays at 100. It stays the same. Whereas the volume after the anchor keyframe rises and falls as we move the volume lever back and forth. So now let's lower the volume and pay attention to see if you can catch where the sound slides.
I didn't mean to. It just... Let me explain.
So I'm going to move the scrubber to the second keyframe and reduce the volume. Watch what happens. The volume from this point to this point reduces. Why? Because the scrubber or audio head or playhead acts as a targeter. So when you park it exactly on an existing keyframe, you can change the volume or from that point onwards.
I didn't mean to. It just... Let me explain.
Let's reduce it even further so you can hear the difference.
I didn't mean to. It just... Let me explain.
Now let's add a third keyframe right about here. Now go up to the audio control and click keyframe. Now keep your eye in the area where the two arrows are as we reduce the volume. What do you notice? The volume between the second and third keyframe reduces. Let's have a listen.
I didn't mean to. It just...
Here's the key point. If you place your cursor or playhead on a keyframe, you're saying you want to make changes from that point rightly to the next keyframe. If you place it at a random point in the audio file, you're basically saying you want to create a new keyframe and affect volume or make changes from that point on rightly to the right or to the next keyframe.
I didn't mean to. It just... Let me explain.
Okay, let's create a fourth keyframe and just play around the volume.
I didn't mean to. It just...
So to round up, this is how we dock in CapCut using keyframes. Now, some other tools may have auto docking where the sound docks whenever there's a voiceover, and some other tools may also curve the sound and not be as linear.
I didn't mean to. It just... Let me explain.
And that's a wrap. Now let's add the designed emotion layer. With this layer, we want to make the audience feel the energy and emotion of the space. In the opening scene, we want the audience to feel like something is wrong. In these scenes, we want them to feel the anxiety and coldness in the air. And here we want them to feel the pressure of guilt. We'll also add tiny repeating cues for betrayal throughout the movie. Now that's the plan. Let's jump over to 11 Labs to create the sounds. Let's paste our prompt in a prompt window. And what we are after is an unease, a sound that's barely audible, but creates that sense of unease, like something is about to happen. Set duration at 14 seconds. And increase the prompt influence up to 80%. Now let's create. Now for this sound, I'd advise you use your headphones as opposed to your speakers so you can hear the sounds properly. So we'll download this one. And this one. Let's have a listen to this one again. Nope. So we'll download this one. Now with this sound, we're trying to create the anxiety in the air, high texture, thin, cold air. So it's thin, high frequency air texture, a bit brittle and slightly fizzy even, you know? So let's generate that. So let's download this. And this. Now, this is where we express guilt. So this is the guilt layer. We want to feel pressure, rumble, and unease in the air. Let's go ahead and download a few of this. I hope you used your headphones. It's good practice to listen with both your headphones and the speaker. And finally, for the emotional layer or the designed emotion layer, we are going to create the sound for the betrayal cues. So tiny repeating needle kind of clink or a ping at certain intervals. So we'll download this and run over to CapCut to put the layers together. Let's go. Okay, so we're here, and what I want to do now is have a listen to the whole video and see if I need to adjust some sounds lower or higher. I think we'll probably need to reduce some sounds like the background sounds. So let's do that now. Let's have a listen and see if we need to tweak here and there.
You betrayed me. How can I trust anything you say?
I didn't mean to. It just... Let me explain.
So the tone layer is a bit too loud. So let's reduce that to minus 20 decibels. We're going to reduce the hand-on cup sound. That sounds crunchy and not like rubbing. So let's reduce the first set of footsteps to minus 9 decibels. We want it softer, more subtle, as opposed to these loud thuds. Okay, let's reduce the volume of the second set of footsteps to minus 6 decibels. That's a bit stumpy as well. So I'm going to reduce the bed tone layer because that still shouldn't be this audible. It should be, barely perceptible. So let's reduce it to minus 25 decibels. So now I'm going to make the conversation lighter. It should be light murmur. So we'll reduce that to minus 6 decibels. So what are your thoughts on the footsteps? Shouldn't they be softer? They should be softer. Imagine you're at a cafe. No one is stomping, in. So let's reduce footsteps 2 to minus 8 and footsteps 1 to minus 11. Now the hand-on cup isn't there yet. Let's bring that down to minus 12 decibels. Let's reduce the footsteps further to minus 12 for the second set and minus 16 for the first set of footsteps. So it's much subtler. Let's try that and see if we achieve the soft footsteps we want. Now let's have a listen to the whole video.
You betrayed me. How can I trust anything you say?
I didn't mean to. It just... Let me explain.
Now we need to duck the background sounds. So the dialogue or voiceover and the designed emotion sit front and center. Now that way, the audience doesn't have to search for the words. They feel the emotional arc clearly, beat by beat. We'll be ducking using keyframes. Now we're going to place one over here, just before the hand on cup scene. Right there. Now click on the diamond and it turns blue. And move your scrubber rightly. We're going to place the next one before Riley speaks. And place the third one just before Alex hand on head scene. And we'll place the last and fourth one just before Alex has this realization and there's relief, some sort of relief of tension right here. By the way, if you haven't noticed, we are docking the ambient layer where we have light conversation. Now we'll be docking the sound between these keyframes. Now let's reduce the volume to minus 32 decibels. Notice how the volume now slants downwards in a linear fashion. Let's do that to the next frame. Same minus 32 decibels. Now keep an eye on this red arrow as I move the playhead back and forth. Make sure to place the playhead right when the diamond turns blue. Then you know you're on the spot, you're on the keyframe. Now the volume in this area has been reduced to minus 32 decibels. Now I'm going to do some scrubbing. I'll move the playhead from the beginning to the end of this clip or the video. Notice how the volume in the arrow changes at each point of the keyframe.
You betrayed me. How can I trust anything you say?
I didn't mean to. It just... Let me explain.
You betrayed me. How can I trust anything you say?
I didn't mean to. It just... Let me explain.
Now let's add designed emotions. First, would add the threat layer, the threat subdrone layer. Let's grab our files. We'll place this just when the tension and emotions begin to rise, but let it peak and then subside. So we'll place it just about here, just 7-second mark.
You betrayed me. How can I trust anything you say?
I didn't mean to. It just... Let me explain.
Okay, now let's reduce the volume to, let's say, minus 5 decibels. Let's do that.
You betrayed.
So we want this sense of unease to slowly rise, peak, and then recede. To do that, we're going to use keyframes. We'll place one here at around 9.12 seconds. Let's put one here. Go to your keyframes and add a keyframe here. And then we'll place the next keyframe where it would peak around the 16-second mark, just where Alex starts breathing really hard. Yes, somewhere around here, we'll place our second keyframe. So let's add our keyframe here. And would place another keyframe. We want it to start descending. So place that around the 18-second mark. Somewhere here. And the last keyframe, which would be the last frame where the sound would be the lowest, would place around the 1924, just before he gets this relief and he starts, there's an easiness in the air around the 1924 mark right there. So now let's reduce the volume. Let's reduce it to minus 16.6 decibels. Notice the volume slants down. So now what we want to do is go to the second keyframe. And what we're trying to achieve is a rising tone, a rising sound that drops. So it's going to start dropping at this second keyframe. And to achieve that, what we'll do is place our scrubber or playhead at the second keyframe and increase the volume to the base 0.0 decibels. Now, if I scrub to the right, you see the volume rises, peaks, and then starts to descend. That's the effect we want to have. Now, let's have a listen.
You betrayed me. How can I trust anything you say?
I didn't mean to. It just... Let me explain.
Now we add the anxiety layer, which is the thin, high-frequency air texture, almost a slightly fizzy sound. And we're going to add this just before we zoom to hands on cup where we feel the fidgetiness of Alex. So right about the 6 seconds, 602 area. is a bit abrupt. Now, to fix that, we'd use the fade in tool, where we gradually increase the volume in a smooth fashion. So we'd do that with this fade tool up here and would fade to 0.3 seconds. Next, let's reduce the volume let's reduce it to minus 11 decibels. Let's try that out. Now we want this anxiety layer to dock just before Riley starts speaking. So we're going to use the scrubber and take it to, let's pull it to that's about the 11-second mark. And we're going to use keyframes to make it drop. We're going to place 2 keyframes, one around the 11-second mark and another just after it, just say 11:09, just after it. And then we're going to bring down the volume completely, say minus 18 decibels. So we're going to bring down the volume to minus 18 decibels because we want a sharp drop of that anxiety layer.
You betrayed me. How can I trust anything you say?
I didn't mean to. It just... Let me explain.
Now let's add the guilt layer, the guilt pressure rumble layer. So we'll be using 2 guilt pressure layers. One would be from about the 8-second mark and would use that to intensify the guilt, the emotion, the tension in the room. And that would sweep around where Riley is talking and Alex is breathing hard. So just under Riley, rise up to where Alex is breathing hard and then falls. The other one is around this area where Alex nervously looks up at Riley, just there. So we'll start that one just about the 3-second mark.
You betrayed me. How can I trust anything you say?
I didn't mean to. It just... Let me explain.
Now let's grab the second guilt layer, which would place around the 8-second mark. Let's move the playhead to the 8-second mark and place the audio clip right there.
You betrayed me. How can I trust anything you say?
I didn't mean to. It just... Let me explain.
And lastly, let's add the betrayal cues. We will not be using the whole clip, but just a section, just a tick section, and would trim off the excess. But first, let's decide where to place them. So we'll place the first one just before the hand on cup. The next would place just before Riley speaks. And the final one would place after she's spoken before Alex breathing scene. Now let's clip the excess. Clip to the right and to the left of this area.
You
Now let's reduce the volume of that tick to minus 12 decibels.
You betrayed me. You
Now let's place the other betrayal cues. What I'm going to do is select the original one, copy it, Control C, move my playhead to the location I want to place it, and then Control V, paste. I need to paste at the bit, on the bit.
You betrayed me. How can I trust anything you say?
And I'll do the same thing here. Copy, move the playhead to the location, and Control V or paste.
You betrayed me. How can I trust anything you say?
I didn't mean to. It just... Let me explain.
So I'm going to move this second betrayal cue to the 11-second mark because I think it will hit better there, and also increase the volume. Because of all the other layers around it, it's a bit more subdued, and I want it to be felt.
You betrayed me. How can I trust anything you say?
So for the third cue, I'm deleting it. What you could do is really just increase the volume. I'm deleting, copying the second cue and placing. You don't need to do this. You could just increase the volume. I just wanted the volumes to be the same. Let's have a listen.
You betrayed me. How can I trust anything you say?
I didn't mean to. It just... Let me explain.
You betrayed me. How can I trust anything you say?
I didn't mean to. It just... Let me explain.
And that's a wrap.
The punctuation layer. Punctuation is when you make a moment shine. It's not about adding more sounds. It's about shaping the sounds you already have so the audience locks onto the right thing. Here's the order of priority. Dialogue first, then the hero detail like breath or the finger snap, then designed emotion, then ambience. In the last lesson, we punctuated dialogue and story beats using keyframes to duck the background layers so the words and emotion had priority. But we did not kill the room. We ducked ambience more than room tone, so the scene still felt like a real cafe. And when the scene turned to relief, we opened the space back up slightly so the audience feels the shift. Bottom line, if the cafe disappears, you ducked too hard.
Find the final step, control, consistency, checks, and exporting audio in festival-ready format in the additional materials section. Use it as your quick checklist before you export any film. Find the final step, control, consistency, checks, and exporting audio in festival-ready format in the additional materials section. Use it as your quick checklist before you export any film.